In this video, we're gonna be talking about some juicy NFT drama, some project updates on top tier projects, and what that means for you as an investor moving forward. The first thing we're gonna talk about is going to be Kaiju Kingz, and they just released their Rooftop Rampage game. So essentially what this is a arcade style game. It's like an infinite runner where your job is to jump and dodge these obstacles that are in your way and shoot fireballs, right? Why did they make this game? Well, number one, it's kind of like their first entry into creating a video game because they're trying to do more play to earn in the future. And number two, it's kind of like a promotion or a way to get the community engaged for their mutant kaijus. And mutant kaijus essentially, if you know like Mutant Ape Yacht Club, they're kind of like next tier of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And so kaijus are kind of taking inspiration from that motto and doing it for themselves as well. So kaijus have the genesis, they have the baby, and now they have the mutants, and now they have a play to earn game. So overall, when I'm looking at the quality of the pixel art, in my opinion, it's actually one of the best 2D pixel arts in the NFT space right now. If you kind of look at how they're doing the motions, not many pixel arts like, having those kind of details where the water is dropping in and out of a mutant. So when I'm looking at this project overall, they're pretty strong as a team. They've shown that they can create good 2D art. They show that they have a pretty strong community when, I'm in their Discord as well. And then they also made this game that, it's a simple game, right? It's really just a runner where you're just jumping infinitely, kind of like when you don't have internet connection on your Google Chrome and you have to use a dinosaur to jump over the cactuses. It's kind of similar to that. So it's a simple game, but it looks good, it feels good, the music is good. And so I think if they really put more resources into like a full-on play to earn game, I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. Of course, because there's so much excitement going into kaijus right now, the price is pumping, so it may not always be the best entry. So if that's a project you're looking out for the long term, because I think they are here to stay and build for the long term, that's something you should definitely check out. So the next project we're gonna talk about is gonna be The Orbs by this artist named BT, and it's a collaboration with a gaming company called Gala Games, who does like NFT crypto gaming type of stuff. And this is the guy known as 888. And the reason I want to talk about this project specifically is not because of the art itself, but because the drama surrounding it. So for whatever reason, right, whoever is behind this project, Gala Games, AAA, and BT, they decided to do a Dutch auction. That's essentially when you set a price, and then if nobody buys it at that price, the price goes lower and lower and lower until eventually it gets to a certain minimum. Why there was so much drama around this is because they set the Dutch auction to around 11 ETH, and they set the minimum price it will be minted at 8 ETH, which is ridiculous, right? If you think about like how much Clone X did a Dutch auction for, it was only 3 ETH. And then, this project that not many people know who BT is, it's not like a huge brand or anything. They're charging 11 to 8 ETH for one NFT, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And why is a company charging so much money for an NFT and building all this hype for it? And then what exactly is going to happen with that money once it's raised, right? If they were able to get the amount of money they wanted, they would be getting like 60 or 70 million dollars from their collectors. And the collectors don't even get to know where that money actually goes. Somebody could take 50 million out and put in 10 to actually build a project, and then it's like, okay, what happened to that 50? And because Gala Games, AAA, and BT are not very transparent with how the money is split and where it actually goes, there was so much skepticism. A lot of people in the NFT space, like Nate Rivers, is really vocal about it. He was saying that it's just not healthy for the space because you're almost like sucking out money from NFTs and nobody knows where it goes. I kind of been watching it today, and it seems like only 11 people actually bought it, so no one's really buying it. And then the Dutch auction, like I said before, they were trying to get 11 to 8 Ethereum for one of these, and it seems like the price dropped all the way to 2.84 and probably going to continue to drop over time. And for whatever reason, they're taking it really slow when it comes to how slowly the price drops. And yeah, people aren't really minting it, And I guess it's because a lot of FUD, a lot of people saying negative things about like, oh, these guys are greedy, they're cash grabbing, what's going on? And I think that really turned people off from actually wanting to buy this project. And I think the reason why this is all happening is because we've seen, in the last month, a lot of projects got really greedy. If we look at projects like, I covered this, like Raid Party, for example. At the time when I covered them, it seemed like a pretty cool concept. And then what ended happening is they did this ridiculous Dutch auction to get people to pay the maximum amount of money for this project. And Pixelmon did the exact same thing, right? So these projects don't necessarily need 50+ million to build a game. They probably just need a couple to get started. But they're really like asking for their money up front and saying like, don't worry guys, we're gonna promise the game, or we're gonna promise XYZ. But the thing is, if you're giving someone your money and then they decide like, hey, you know what, this is too difficult, I'm just gonna bounce, peace out, you just lose your investment in a sense, right? I guess people got burned so much from this happening over and over. And the thing that I'll teach you guys is like, when it comes to like Dutch auctions, a lot of people will say like, oh, we're doing Dutch auctions because we want everyone to have a fair chance. The market will value this for whatever it is. And they try to tell a great story about how this Dutch auction is actually helping the collector. In my opinion, really happening is that these brands understand, these projects understand that if you do a Dutch auction and you artificially increase the hype, you're extracting the a maximum amount of value you can get from your customer or your collector, and you don't really have to, deliver on anything. So it's really just a way to make the maximum amount of money, which, is seen as pretty greedy because they could have done the opposite and charged really low and made their money on secondary fees when people buy and sell on OpenSea. But instead, all these projects are just cash grabbing in the front and making vague promises that they don't have to legally keep. Now let's talk about, other projects that don't seem as greedy, right? And I covered this before, and I'm gonna be talking about Solar Bots. So Solar Bots has been quietly building in the background, not really generating a lot of hype, but over time they, release updates and announcements here and there, right? And just to give you an idea, when Solar Bots came out, the mint was very cheap. It was like 0.05 or something like that. So they're not asking for like a whole lot, just enough to build the actual game and hire more people. So which is really good, right? So it's like build first, build quietly, and then when the game is ready, the game is ready. You don't have to like hype everything up to make $50 million up front, right? Maybe you can just sell out in a collection, make a couple million, use that for hiring people, and then just raise more money when you need it, right? That's what you would typically do in a startup. So Solar Bots, they recently announced partnership with YGG, Yield Guild Games, which is basically a guild for the play to earn gaming. So big news that they're partnering up with bigger brands in the space to help them navigate this field and build a better game. What I also like is that they're not really flashy about it. They just kind of like update you here and there, right? And what they are sharing with their community is that they hired 5 illustrators and animators. They're hiring people to do the music and things like that. So they're actually using the money to hire people to build a game, right? And they're giving you like teasers and updates of like what the game could potentially look like. And this is what I really like because, a lot of other projects, they're all sizzle no steak. They just try to make the trailer as interesting as possible, but then it really is just like a 3D model walking around a 3D world. There's nothing going on. And Solar Bots kind of doing the opposite where they're like, okay, this is our vision. We're not promising like something crazy, but this is what we want to build. We're asking for a little bit of money up front so we can start. And then we'll just update you as we go, right? Which as it should be. Solar Bots isn't gonna be like gonna pump. I don't think anytime soon. I'm a holder of Solar Bot, but like it's something that you can hold in the long term. And then when the game actually comes out, it would be something that will probably be of value and not something that's just like a straight up cash grab, give me 50 million today. So the next project we're gonna talk about is gonna be Acrocalypse. So when I first saw this, I was like, well, what makes this so special? It's just like a 2D pixel crocodile. More and more people were starting to talk about it and like people who are respected as NFT traders. So then I gave it another chance. I was like, okay, so what's actually going on here? And so essentially these crocodiles, it's not just like a picture profile like every other project and then it's like, oh, we're gonna do the metaverse. The way I look at it, it's almost like a software company who is building software for the NFT space like paperhands.gg where you put in your address and then it'll show you projects that you paper-handed that if you held them, like how much money you could have made, but you sold it for cheaper. They also built another tool where it kind of keeps track of your collection and it tells you when you need to claim any airdrops or if you have giveaways coming up. And they literally built this one in a week. Basically, this one influencer, he's like, I pay 0.1 ETH per month for a service where I could connect my wallets, receive daily, weekly updates on collections I'm holding and all the stuff I need to claim. And then they literally saw that and they built it in a week and they pushed it out and now it's a working product, right? And so when you're looking at a project, you're really evaluating the team. You're really evaluating the entrepreneur and their ability to actually build and execute and ship things out. And so these guys have proven from a technical perspective that they can actually make products that are good that people want to use in the NFT space. And they're building more stuff around like NFTs, like how to manage your wallet, how much money is your NFTs worth, how much money is your portfolio worth. I think this is actually a pretty interesting buy because it's like one of the first projects where someone is taking like software that's like quote unquote boring and adding a layer of PFP on top. So it's kind of like if you hold this crocodile, then you get access to our software that we're building, right? That's really interesting and it's very different from how traditional software is made where you have to pay a monthly subscription. In this case, you just hold a crocodile NFT and that's quite unique. So the price of these crocodiles have been going up because the reveal is happening in I think 2 days or 3 days from now. So if you want to get in this project, you could take the risk and buy it now, but the price may dump after the reveal when people know what they got. If you are, kind of looking at this project and you think that it's gonna pump in the like more longer term or in a couple months, then I would wait for the price to see what it is after the review. And if it dumps like by half or 70% and you believe in the long term, then maybe that could be a project you might want to enter in. So the next project that we're gonna be talking about is going to be Magic. Now Magic is essentially a coin that aims to be the next Nintendo for the NFT space. And Magic is built on Atrium, which is a layer 2. And if you don't know what that means, it's kind of like, how there's like Polygon and Immutable X that are built on top of Ethereum. Magic is kind of like the same thing where it's connected to Ethereum, but it's on its own separate chain. So what really caught my attention for this project is that in the ecosystem, all the mints are for free. So when we're looking at NFT projects in Ethereum, people people are charging like 1 Ethereum, 0.15 Ethereum for these projects that sometimes just go to 0. So Magic and Treasure, and Treasure is like connected to Magic, they want to keep the mints for these projects free, meaning that everybody has a shot to get in, everybody has a shot to get on the whitelist, but you don't have to pay this ridiculous amount to buy into the project. This means that as the creator of a project on Treasure or Magic, you have to actually earn your money. You don't just like say, hey, I'm gonna create a picture on Fiverr and sell it to you for $200 each. It's more like, this is a free mint, anybody can get it, but we're only gonna make money if this project actually succeeds. So it's a different type of philosophy. You know, some of the work that has been built on top of Magic, you have these Legion Genesis over here, and these are like super expensive. Like Magic's like $5 right now. So one of these is like 75,000 for the floor. You know, these are super expensive, so you might have not seen these too often, but you probably have seen this other one where it's called Small Brains, where it's like this monkey, this 2D monkey, where you can like, you know, use your tokens to make the brain of the monkey bigger, to give it a bigger brain. And it's kind of funny, right? Because it's called Small Brains. And you know, I've definitely seen these running around on Twitter quite a bit. So without getting too much into details, just think of it as a separate ecosystem, kind of connected to Ethereum, but not really. It's like building its own universe. It's very early, it's very new. There's still a lot of risk because it's so new, but a lot of people do believe in this project. And if that's something that interests you, I would go down the rabbit hole and join the Discord of Magic and Treasure and see what is up. And so those are the projects that I am going to be looking at right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.